My name is Reece Andrews, and I am a digital marketing assistant and housing assistant at McEwen Residence. So when I was around 5 or 6 years old, I was sexually abused by a person of trust in my family. The abuse, unfortunately, wasn't just a one and done thing. It happened over a few years and on many different occasions. I mostly remember feeling kind of worthless and out of control. And since I was so young, I honestly just didn't know what was happening, and I didn't know how to express those emotions, and I thought it was normal per se because I never was told that was wrong. And you're young, so you don't know anything about like sex or anything like that, so you don't know that somebody in your family shouldn't be doing that to you type thing. I'd always wished that if I would have just screamed, or I would have kicked him, or I would have told somebody sooner, that all could have been prevented. But you can't really control that in the moment. You kind of just, personally, I froze, and in that moment there was nothing I could have done. It originally stopped by me telling my mom, actually, and due to her own trauma, we didn't go to the authorities right then because my family actually has a history with sexual abuse. So the only thing that really happened there was I was no longer in the same room with him alone, but I still had to see him at like family functions and stuff like that. So I was still in contact with him, just not alone. And as a kid, you're like, oh, I don't want to get him in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble. Like, he's not going to take me out for ice cream later if I tell somebody type thing. Like, that was kind of his MO, is if I reward them with something after, then they won't tell. So it was grooming in that way.
So your sister was abused by the same person?
Yeah. Well, when we were abused, it was usually, we were together just in separate areas. So I would be downstairs and he'd be abusing her upstairs, and we wouldn't know that was happening. And I remember I did tell her one time, we were driving and we just got an ice cream, and I was really upset, and I just broke down and cried. I was like, this is what happened to me. And as my older sister, she thought that by not telling anybody, she was protecting me because she thought she was getting the abuse and it wasn't happening to me as well. So she felt very upset with herself for not protecting me in that way, although she was also young and there was nothing she could do. We told our parents about what happened, and then we were actually my aunt's bridesmaids at their wedding when she married this guy after knowing what he did to us. So she knew, she married him, and we continued to see him for 8 years. And that ended when my sister, who was also sexually abused by this man, when she was about 16 years old, so I would have been around 13, she was in a counseling session and she had brought it up, and due to the rules around that, they had to report that to the authorities, and that's when we started going to court dates and stuff like that. Yeah, it was annoying. Like, I think it was grade 8 when we started, and he finally got arrested and charged when I was in about grade 11. To be honest, I kind of went off the rails because my way of kind of dealing with the situation was I tried to just not think about it, and I tried to forget. So going through that court case was really difficult because I wanted to be there for my sister, and in order for him to get the sentence we wanted, we both kind of needed to come forward and share both of our experiences. So in a way, I did it for my sister mostly because that was just something that I wasn't ready to come out about, but I am happy that I came out about it when I did. But it was just a lot to unpack when I was going through all of the other life changes as a teenager.
Do you think he did that to other girls?
I know he did that to the other girls. In one of our court hearings, they had mentioned that he was also not charged, but he had done it to 2 other girls previous to us, and it just didn't go any farther than that. So I think the fact that he did it to both my sister and I, and there was also proof that he did it to 2 other girls earlier, that really helped with him getting sentenced. But he still didn't get the sentence that we wanted. He was charged for the sexual abuse, and he was supposed to be in jail for 5 years, and he actually just recently got out on day parole after 2 years. He has a pile of different rules, like he can't go anywhere that young children might be, so like parks, pools, stuff like that. he can't be alone with children. So I guess that's comforting, but it's still not what I wanted.
Has he tried to reach out to you?
No, but his wife has on multiple occasions. And when we finally went to courts, she was on his side and said we were making it up, and she didn't believe us, and she was there for him rather than for us. So it kind of tore our family up in that way, because now we no longer had contact with my aunt, my uncle, my cousin, and my grandma. Actually, I had a little bit of resentment towards, because she was still talking to her daughter, which makes sense, but I was mad that she was playing like kind of the middle. I think it hurt more that she's a woman and she was supposed to be family, and to say that we were lying and we were making it up was just very hurtful, and I don't see why we would make something like that up, and why she would even have that idea, and why she was on his side. Like, I don't know what kind of emotional abuse that she was going through to pick him over us, especially knowing that he did it to two other girls previous. I really just wish I knew what was going through her mind.
Do you think she went through the same abuse as your mom did?
She did, I do know. But to me, that's not an excuse. Like, I can say that if that ever happened to one of my kids or somebody I know, I would try and report it and go to the authorities, but everybody deals with trauma differently. But yeah, I don't forgive her for it. For a while, I did resent my mom and my family, because some of my other family's members actually knew as well. But like I said, sexual abuse has gone throughout my whole family. So they were dealing with their own trauma and didn't necessarily know how to help me with mine. So that was a lot to deal with. And I did seek out therapy in my grade 12 years. So I would have been 17, a few years after court and all of that, when I was finally ready to talk about it. And I kind of unpacked those emotions about my mom. And my mom and I actually had a therapy session together, and we just got to let it all out on the table. And it was actually really nice, and it really helped our relationship.
I think it's beautiful how the relationship between you and your sister.
Yeah.
Are you guys close now?
We are actually living together now. And it's just really comforting knowing that although it sucked, we didn't know the other person was going through it, we weren't alone. And when we did figure it out that the other person was also experiencing this abuse, we were really there for each other and really understanding, and it brought us closer together. I learned that healing isn't linear, and it takes time, and you can't really rush it. And I learned to forgive, because if I didn't forgive my family members, I probably wouldn't have any family left, type thing. So time and forgiveness is my biggest lesson.
And if you had a piece of advice to give to someone who's going through the same situation you are, or a similar situation, what would that be?
Not to give up. If the first person you tell doesn't respond the way that you want, and you don't get the authorities involved like you'd want, just keep trying and telling somebody until someone takes action on it.
And what would you tell your 5-6-year-old self right now?
You're gonna come out on top. This sucks in the moment, but you're gonna get through this. He's gonna get charged. He's not gonna get away with it, and everything will work out for you.